Today is Sunday, September 30th, 2018. This is Journal 5. The prompt is to describe one of my evaluation opportunities from this semester and kind of reflect on how this has influenced my future actions or decision making. So I have one in particular that happened pretty recently, and it was at a football game. The patient came off the field, not moving his head down. It's just like super not the way that he usually walks off the field. And I noticed that. And he just kind of stood there, and I was like, all right, you need to come here. What's going on? And he said, I got ear hold. And so their helmet went straight like this. And when he kind of sat up, he stayed this way. Yeah, this way. And I was like, well, what are you feeling? He was like, well, my arm went numb. And it's kind of coming back, kind of not really. And I was like, what do you feel? All this, me touching you? And he said yes. And I was like, you open, close, move your arm, all that. And I was like, and at that point he had kind of relaxed and kind of like went to neutral, but was still, you could tell he was like this. Had a shoulder up, trying to like protect it, I guess, muscle guarding. And then I was like, well, what are you feeling in that region before I, try to inspect and all that? And he was like, it just feels like it's cramping on this side. And I was like, what about the other side, He said, it feels like it's cramping on the side that was stretched, and he didn't have any problems with the side that was compressed. So I was like, all right, well, I was thinking like, well, the helmet probably hit like the brachial plexus area, and it kind of like stunted it. So it was all coming back, and he was like, once he was talking, he was like nodding and things like that. So I was like, you don't have like any like neck pain back here, anything like that? And I was like, you didn't hear anything? He said no, and he's still doing facial expressions, and he's looking at me fine, like open and close and eye range of motion and stuff like that. Nothing had changed in his like orientation. And then as we were talking, he goes, it's really freaking out, and then like was like, I can't move. And he was like, can you try to figure out what's going on? And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and touch you. I'm gonna let you know what's going on. And I just started away. I was like, where is it? He put a finger to it. I started away and went down, and I was like, all right, is any of that hurt? And he's like, no, not really. And I barely am touching him, and I got to just like right around here, and he was like, don't touch, don't touch. So then I was like, what does it feel like? And he was like, well, it kind of feels like it's pulling the rest of it. And he was like, it's just like this. And he still wouldn't move his neck. And I was like, well, does it feel like, I was like, does it feel like it's doing kind of like this, like a spasm? Or I was like, does it feel like something else? And he was like, well, I'm not really sure. He's like, it just hurts. And like the thing with high schoolers is they're not to the point where they're like, this really hurts, or like this is awful, or it's like a sting and a burn. It's not like a pull. And he was like, well, I think I just pulled a muscle on my neck. And I was like, no, I don't really think so, but it's fine. And it was more of his like SCM and upper trap, I would say. But I was like, he said, it's really freaking out. Like, I don't know what to do. It's in this one spot. And I was like, it's not moving. No. He said no. So I went ahead and just did some trigger point right there. He had like a quarter size knot just like because it was spasming and stuff like that. But and after like a little bit of pressure, it relieved, and he was able to move and all that, and had full range of motion, no pain. I was like, "Do you need me to try to stretch you anymore?" And he said, "No, I feel fine." But this really did kind of like, I guess like first response is like kind of scared because he was like, I can't feel my arm or something along those lines. Like my arm went numb, and it's like still numb, it's tingling, and I was like, okay. And like ear hole, you think about like when you're getting ear holed and stuff like that, and that impact like right there, that can do anything. And so like within a few things, I was like, all right, I don't think it's a concussion. I don't think that he has any cervical C-spine issues. And I was like, it's kind of nerve because of where it hit and where it, like kind of the impact went, but it was more muscular at the end. But it really did scare me because he was like, I can't feel my arm, and he was like, I don't want to move my head, and I was like, okay. And I was like, he walked off the field, like stuff like that. He got up and came to me. But I do think this is going to influence my future actions because if he wouldn't have said anything about that, I wouldn't have done any other like checking orientation and stuff like that. If he just was like, my neck is tight, then I would have just done that. And you know, sometimes like especially high schoolers are not really sure how to describe, so you have to really be specific in what you're asking, and that's like a huge deal to getting your history, because if I didn't ask the right questions, then he would have just been like, my neck's tight, like I don't know what's going on, not like, you know, my arm's tingling, it's still tingling, or I can't really, you know, it feels funny when you touch my hand, or then all of a sudden just seeing him like tense up and look at me like, help. So getting all the information from him was pretty critical because even though it ended up just being a muscle spasm in his neck, it, you know, could have been something else. Like brachial plexus is important because of all the nerves and stuff like that, but for him to have like a C-spine, or, you know, like he could have a fracture right there or anything like that. So I really made sure that before I did anything or put hands on him, anything like that, I was like, needed to know what I was going into, because I didn't want him to be like me trying to do something and making it worse. So this like little incidents could have been something really serious, and that's why I was like kind of reserved in the beginning, because I was like, okay, I don't want to, you know, make him feel like that something is seriously wrong, because he was pretty scared and freaked out because he couldn't feel his arm, and he was like, I don't know. He's like, I don't feel like I have any grip or anything like that. And he stayed out for a little bit with me, and you know, nothing changed. It didn't get worse with anything like head related, C-spine related. So I was like, I think you're okay. And I was like, if you need anything, like if anything changed, like you instantly need to let me know. And he's like, okay. But definitely am going to really emphasize getting all the right information, especially from younger patients, because they're not really sure what's going on, and him, you know, being freaked out on his own, and me kind of like being kind of like, okay, reserved, kind of calmed him down, is what he told me, and that can really help my future clinical decision making, because if it was like C-spine related and he had, you know, walked off like that, I don't know, or it was concussion, or you know, he had gotten hit like really really hard and something like that. Luckily I had seen him get hit, and I knew that he could have possibly like had ringing in the ear and stuff like that, kind of been like jolted, or a concussion because of the impact. It was a pretty big boy hitting him, but definitely is going to influence like how I do evaluations in the future, because instinct in our clinic, most of the people that I am in the program with, like their first instinct is to touch, and like with this, like you couldn't have done that, like that could have been detrimental to him. And it was just crazy. I was like, okay, kind of calm down, bring myself together, and then I was like, let's go about this the right way and the long way. And he was like, I have to go back in, and I was like, not right now. But yeah, that was like one of probably a really important evaluation that I've done this semester, just because like it started really serious in my mind because of what I saw and how he held himself off the field and what he was reporting to me. And granted, they went away and everything was fine, it was still, if something bad did happen to him, my first instinct was to go ahead and touch and palpate and see what was going on. That could have been awful for him, and I didn't want to do that. But yeah, pretty important, I think. So yeah, that's my 5th journal. That is probably one of the most important evaluations that I've had this semester. Whoa, not summer. But yeah,